Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. We are continuing our series on African immigrants and African development. And today we are going to be talking about real estate in Africa and as an investment vehicle for African immigrants. And real estate is Sir Okpa's baby. This is my introduction said, we are basing our topic today, or we are drawing inspiration from an article about real estate in Kigali, affordable housing in Kigali. There's an article that says Kigali needs adequate housing by 2050. How do we get there? Okpa, as always, is reading some of these things and making commentaries, opinions, and all that. But this is an area where he's real grounded in. He sent me something which basically said, no African nation can or will dent or achieve its desire for access to affordable housing, doing it from government budget. African nations on national basis or regional basis lack fundamentals of capital formation, secondary mortgage institutions, limited and or non-bankable financial institutions. So that is where our focus is going to be. I want to get his opinion on why he thinks African nations with national budgets would not be able to break through. And I sent something to him about Victoria Island. There are ads online about Victoria Island, the investment that is going on there. There's Ghanaian, I think there's some good real estate in Ghana, there's some in Kenya, there's some too in South Africa, and we find many of these opportunities coming up. So I'm wondering why Sir Okpa thinks otherwise. Well, his specific thing is about government. And so, as always, I want to thank you for coming on, Sir Okpa. Thank you for your time. I don't take it for granted, like I say always. It's a pleasure to have you on. Let's talk about real estate, and like I said, that is your baby. So let me hear you.
Well, hey, thank you again. On this weekly conversation. I went to school in Nigeria, and then be fortunate, by desire to be in US. In fact, 1983 was when I wrote a paper on mortgage issues and challenges in Nigeria, and then 95 I was in Brazzaville, Congo, part of a symposium addressing African countries and housing. See, the thing about Africa is they build houses from government budgets. Apart from, the ones that developers do or individuals do. So if you look at any national budget and you look at, let's say, it's Ministry of Housing or Works that is over housing, and you look at what is the capital money for that, you find out it's not enough to do it. So Africans do the support programs like that out of budget, and not because of policies that enable developers to do what they do. You talk of Victoria Island. I know Victoria Island. I mean, Victoria Island is probably no more than 4 square miles. It's a dump. Okay, let me be honest with you. It's a dump. I don't know whether you've ever been there. It's nothing. You talk about if Lagos has 20 million people, like they say, there is no given year you have 100,000 housing units being delivered in Nigeria.
As a country,
you don't have 100,000 brand new houses being built in Nigeria on an annual basis. And Nigeria is supposed to have 6 million housing shortages. So let's just say, okay, let's say Nigerian government with the private sector said, okay, we're going to address these 6 million housing shortages, and we are going to build 1 million, which is impossible. You will cripple the economy because you don't have the manpower, and the material resources to handle that. Um, so if you go to do it for 100,000, how long would it take you to address that? You're talking about 60 years. Because they don't have the capacity. I mean, in Nigeria is where it will take somebody 2-3 years in most cases, if not longer, to build a home, because they're building it based on their own money. So if you go to Nigeria, I mean, when Madam Okonjo-Iweala, who is now WTO Director General, was in Nigeria, Finance Minister, I mean, the entire country of 200 million people. Now, don't get me started on Nigerian population because it's bogus. But the 200 million to Nigeria, you know how many mortgage notes that are available in Nigeria? It's less than 30,000 mortgages. So the banks don't lend you money for, like you and I can go to a mortgage company here and borrow money for 30 years at fixed rate. No African bank will lend you money past what, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? And then you look at the interest rate. So yes, I think there's a Ghanaian guy building something in Port Harcourt in Abuja. But the thing is, how many units? Is he building 1,000 units? Heck no. He's not. There is no Nigerian developer or African developer that has capacity to build 1,000 housing units a year in any country, whether Rwanda, South America, South Africa, Kenya, Cameroon. No, I want to know who that developer is and how they're getting their money. But you gotta know, Africans don't pay attention on how they borrow money. They don't pay attention to the conditions and terms. When World Bank makes a loan of 1 million, 2 million, Africans are celebrating, but they don't ask the question: what are the terms and conditions? Is that the terms and conditions that make the difference? But because Africans are, get caught up on the culture of money, they overlook the cult of it. What really makes the difference? I'll give you an example. If you borrow, let's say you borrow 100,000, and somebody's charging you 15%. I mean, you're happy to get the loan, and then somebody else borrows the money, but they're getting 5%. Who has a better chance of succeeding? It's the guy who's borrowing it at 5%.
5%. Mm-hmm.
And there is no bank. You go call the National Bank of Nigeria if there's anything like that, or Cameroon and say, hey, I want to build a home, I want to build a block of flats, and I want to borrow money for 30 years. They probably will tie you up on and shoot you, because that's what we're talking about. Because their lending capacity doesn't go beyond, 1 or 2 years, and the interest rate going to charge you probably going to choke you.
Yeah, but Okpa, don't you think that at least the developers are intending to start small and start building capacity from there before they go large scale?
I mean, the model, what I'm saying, the fundamental does not even exist for you to start building small. Remember the saying, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, before you can expect light at the end of the tunnel, you should have dug the tunnel and be in the tunnel, keep digging to a destination. I'm saying this African government, nations, they don't have anything they have put forth in order to address the issue of housing shortages in their country. They have not. Not Rwanda. I mean, if you read the article that the gentleman wrote, for me, from, looking at it from a professional stuff, it was just a generic stuff. It didn't address housing. What category of housing? Are you talking about workforce housing, affordable housing, housing for retired military, which, like in America, we have what they call the veterans program. I mean, there are various categories of housing. So who are you targeting? I mean, the millionaires, billionaires, you're not dealing with them, because they can out of their own resources build whatever they want. But you're talking about the 95% of Africans who need housing in order for them to do what it is they do. And housing is a significant part of an economy. So that's why if you look at the African economic wealth, it's very small, because the housing industry has not been developed.
So Is it that we don't have the need, or is just that people the what we need is overcome by maybe the resource? So we are targeting. Maybe we have food, clothing, and housing is just the last, and we have focused so much on the food and the clothing.
Well, I mean, the clothing that even do, I mean, I don't even know whether we dress properly, because if you see all those kids in Africa, a whole bunch of them are naked. Okay, so we haven't even addressed the need of clothing. And then when it comes to housing, a whole, if you go, for instance, in the US, we have what they call household. If you said, household, how many people live in a household? You may say 2 to 3. That's the average. But in the case of Nigeria, you don't even know what is a household, because you can have one room that has no indoor plumbing, and there are 10 or 5 people living there. So when you look at the existing housing inventory, I'll talk about Nigeria, and you can verify this, and I can give you facts. 90% of houses already existing in Nigeria are not habitable in the case of what you and I will have here. They have poor ventilation, they have poor functionality, they are not built properly. You have too many people in one tiny space. So when I spoke at the African Housing Symposium 1995, they keep calling it shelter. There's a company in Kenya called Shelter Afrique, which is a corporation for housing for Africa. It's been there forever, I think since the 70s or 60s. So they're supposed to be the policy making sort of group to help African countries achieve housing. So for more than 40 years they've been in existence. It can actually point to what they have done. You can say this is the program. They don't really help African countries raise money, or when they do it, they are not even sensitive to the terms and conditions. So, and they call it shelter. Lambert, you and I live in America. Shelter are for animals or homeless people. Okay? So if you come from Africa and you go into America and say, "Oh, I work for the African Shelter Afrique," they'll think, "Oh, wow, you guys have a bunch of homeless people or some animals you want to shelter." So you got to change the term. You got to change your terminologies in order for it to align with the global terminology, so that when you speak, people can relate to what you're talking about. Just like if I go to Nigeria and they say, "Oh, this guy has a mall." If you go to the international shopping center definition, a mall has to be something at least 500,000 square feet, which is, in the case of 50,000 square meters or, something like that, before you start to call it a mall. But somebody will build one tiny building in to shopping and say, "Oh, this is a mall." So if I'm looking for, if an investor calls me and say, "Hey, Mr. Okpa, can you help me identify a mall in Nigeria to purchase?" It's like, no, I don't have, when you talk to Nigeria, say, "I have a mall," but it's just a strip center or convenience store. So these are the conflicts that affect Africa being able to get into the international market, be able to raise capital. And then, in the article I wrote, I talked about capital formation.
Yeah.
So capital formation, again, cash, a dollar in your pocket is finite. But we talk about credit. So what is the credit? Can you borrow? If I have $1, can I be confident to lend you $5? That's credit. So we haven't been able to, from that industry, so that you can go. If you earn in Nigeria, what is the average salary of a Nigerian? The average salary of a Nigerian is less than $2,000 a year.
A year?
Yes, $2,000, the equivalent. So because $2,000 in dollars in Nigeria will give you almost ₦1 million. How many Nigerians earn ₦1 million a year? That 80% of Nigerians don't make that kind of money. Don't earn it. Of course, they can make it through all kind of other things they do, but you have to have a housing price based on their income level. So if you're earning $2,000 a year, how can you afford a $10,000 house, which is how many millions of naira? How can you afford it? That's why you have the corruption. That's how you have people, doing all kinds of things in order to survive. So, but in America, our housing values or our ability to buy a housing is based on our income earning capacity.
So I mean, I'd like to challenge you on. I mean, why haven't you been able to bring this expertise back to Africa? What is the challenge for you as
Because
a
no
real?
prophet has an honor in their village. You've heard that expression? If I
Yeah.
was a white man, I'll say it loud and clear. Or if I come from World Bank, Africans don't look at World Bank, IMF, and UN. No, I have been writing about housing since 1989. Even when Abacha was head of state, I sent him a proposal on how to begin to address military housing for retired Nigerian members of armed forces. I still have a letter of that night when he was chief of staff before he became head of state. I wrote it, and then 95 I spoke. So if I was if I was a white guy go to Nigeria, they would be like, oh yeah, he's the expert. But the African, well, why should I listen to Mr. Okpa? What does he know we don't know? I have a degree in construction. London, in America, it's not the degree you have, is what the resources the system is able to afford you in order for you to address a problem or a need. In America, if you want to go borrow money, if you want to do an apartment complex, you have to, own the land. As they call it, site control. You have to do your budget, how much is going to cost you. You have to say, how much rent are you going to be able to collect in order to pay the debt? So if it's a $10 million project, the city or the state or so many instruments out there might say, oh, because you're targeting this particular section of the economy, your interest rate is going to be lower. And we can subsidize you by this. The city of Dallas doesn't build housing. Even American government, through the housing and urban development, they do not build housing. They make resources and policies available for developers to use those things and go out in the open market and raise money to build those things. But in the case of Nigeria, the Minister of Housing will give contract.
Yeah.
And then from that contract, and you think, they're looking for money under the table. They're looking for kickbacks. They don't have any policy. Even Nigerian Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, they award people contracts to go build houses. Who does that? Who does that? And then when you buy land in Nigeria, you're not even sure who you're buying it from. Because by the time you go, somebody else might show up and say, oh, that land belongs to me. So you are suing them in Lagos, they are suing you in Abuja. So for years, you can be. So what I'm saying is there's no land title integrity. In America, when I go buy real estate, there's an insurance, there's a title insurance. So if the seller, misled me, or before I even buy them, you have to give me a title that says this is free and clear. So these are the challenges Africans have, and then if the governor, like in Nigeria, if the governor gives you a land allocation and you ever don't like him anymore or say something crazy, he might come and demolish your house. he might, there's a call it revocation of the title to your land. Nigeria has two types of land title. That's what they call the CO, certificate of occupancy. And then there's the one they have right of occupancy. So, the rural land in the villages, that's the right. You have the right to occupy that. But if you're in what they call the urban area cities, the governors do the land allocation through the Ministry of Land, and they give you certificate CO. You dare not say anything wrong, bad about him, because he will come, in fact, when you start your foundation, one day they'll just bring the bulldozer and level everything. So how are you going to be able to achieve to fulfill the need? But there are solutions. There are solutions. We have to have a robust market. We have to have, if I say my house is worth $1 million in Lagos, I should be able to go there, use that asset to borrow money to do more. So, the mortgage industry functions on what they call the secondary market. You see all those banks that make loans to you, they are the primary sources. Once they make that loan, and the loan, they carry the note for 1 or 2 years, depending on the regulation, they sell it in the open market.
Yeah.
They call them warehousing. So somebody will warehouse it. And it could be 10,000 mortgage notes or whatever the case. There's a commercial notes, there's this residential one. You buy it at a discount. So let's say, the bank has generated $1 billion worth of, residential notes for, over 30 years. Somebody might say, fine, I buy it in a warehouse, pay you 700 million, for value of 1 billion or whatever the case. That there are ways we analyze this stuff, and they buy it. And then he goes into servicing. But the reason people will buy that is they have confidence in the asset that is underlying the mortgage. Now, remember 2008, there was some fraud thing that went on, but that was just less than 5% that shook the market in some states. But in the case of Nigeria, if somebody tells you the house is worth 1 billion naira, which is about $2 million, you have no faith in it. The Nigerian estate surveyors who do those things, there's no conflict. You go there, you tell them what it is you want to put on the report, and they put it, and the bank will make loan, because the bank manager is going to come to your house in the evening and say, "Hey, man, how are you doing?" And then you do kick back and kick front. Why why in America, if you ever do a mortgage fraud, guess who is after you? It's not even the state.
Yeah.
Huh?
The federal government.
It's the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
FBI. Mortgage fraud is investigated by FBI. It's not the state, because it's you want to create mistrust in the financial industry, and you go to jail. But in Nigeria, there is no real estate appraiser who has ever lost their license or gone to jail for being fraudulent in the opinion of value they've given on which loans have been made. I know them. I say, how can you have an institution and nobody has ever been disciplined for doing something wrong? That's the corruption. See, corruption in Africa is not because of the president. You see, everybody from the gate man, to the president.
Yeah, but maybe the appraisers are doing an excellent job. That's why they are not getting jailed.
No, because the thing is, when those things go bad, nobody's responsible. The bank manager would have, been taken care of, and everybody go. The default rate of performing assets in Nigeria is more than 70%. So a lot of those houses, individuals save money. That's why it takes them time to do. So it might take somebody 5 years to finish a house, because they are doing it from their salaries, savings, or however way, because the mortgage industry is not developed, and it will not be developed in the next 30 years. I can bet my life on it, because we haven't started to address the issue of title to the land, issue of value, confidence in the asset, lending. Lambert, if you're borrowing money at 20% or 30% to service a loan of 1 million naira, how much are you supposed to come up every year? 150,000 naira. Okay? So right. In order for you to satisfy that, even if you are doing it interest only, remember, there are two ways you pay down on a debt. There is the amortization schedule. That is when you pay in on any payment you make goes towards reducing your principal. And then there's the interest only. We said, okay, don't pay on the interest, just do all that. Let's do interest only. If somebody's charging you 10%, even in America, for $1 million, that is every year you owe them $150,000. And then for you to pay them $150,000, you have to make a profit of 30% on that money. So if you do that in America, you should go and live in heaven. You'll be so much rich. Nobody does that. So that is the thing. We have not addressed the interest rate that are being charged on housing. You have to bring it down, and you have to make it relevant to the salaries that the individuals earn.
So let's come back to this. I mean, we have talked about this a lot during the past broadcast. It's about African immigrants in the US, for example, or anywhere in Europe or anywhere in
Mhm,
the world,
mhm,
who want a little piece of real estate in Africa, not for the commercial purposes, just for personal use, for example. What's your
mhm.
take on that? Let me put it this way: do you own a home in Nigeria?
No,
If why not?
why? I don't live there.
Must you live there in order to own a home?
Yes. So why should I have a home and lock the door and just go away?
I mean, there are people who need housing, so you could help people.
No, because I don't trust they can pay me rent, and I don't want to fight them, and I can't evict them when they don't pay me rent. So I'm not invested in Nigerian real estate because I don't believe in it. I don't trust it. The market is not stable. The market doesn't produce, the sort of revenue. But because again, we got to be a number game. Okay, if I take my $100,000 as an example and go buy a block of flat, a flat in Nigeria. Okay, even if it's my money landed, I am loaning it to myself. I'm entitled to have a return on my money. So for that kind of money, $100,000 in Nigeria is 25, almost 30 million naira. Okay? So if I want 10% on that money, that means every year I'm expecting 3 million naira in rent. How many Nigerians will willingly write me a check for 3 million naira in order for me to address my initial investment? Or even 2 million. Any Nigerian who can pay you rent of 2 million naira is going to want to build their own house. They will live on your own, and then when it's time to pay you, they fight you. And they go to their juju and they start to do all kinds of stuff not to pay you. So the people that collect rent, is probably if you work for a bank and the bank is paying on your behalf or foreign entity. But when you go away from Lagos and Abuja, a lot of Nigerians struggle to pay mortgages. Now remember, the government sometimes don't pay salaries on time. Are you aware of that in Nigeria? There are people that the government owes salaries for almost a year, 6 months. So how are
Wow.
they going to pay you rent? The mortgage industry relies on what they call the income is regular, the income is stable, and then the ability of the person to pay. So if the primary source of paying your rent is from you getting you work and you get paid in a month and you don't get paid, what are you going to do? You go to your landlord and say, I'm sorry. And then your landlord is owing a bank or owing himself and say, wait. So that's the key. You first of all, you have to pay people and pay them what is enough to enable them either pay rent or pay their mortgages. So forget all the shiny thing you see in Nigeria. When you drive deep into it, it's a very challenging industry. So personally, I don't own a house in Nigeria. I don't have no intention of owning one. If I'm going to live there, I will go home and build one or buy one, and I'll live there. But I'm not going to have a house, lock the door, and once every 2 or 2 years I go. But it's a waste of, look, if I go to any bank in America with $100,000, you know what they do? Anytime I come through, anytime I come to that bank, they will say, "Hey, Mr. Okpa, how are you?" And that's what they do now, Mr. Okpa, how are you? Because they don't even got money. And, and I said to them, "Hey, I want 3% return on my money. If I say it's a bank for 100,000, and so I'm going to leave my 100,000 with you for 10 years, and I want 3% return, I have no headache. That is every year I get $3,000. I'm fine. But I can go to Nigeria and say I want 10%. Oh my God. And I have a caretaker or property manager. Guess what? They'll be collecting the rent and they will not be paying you. Because they know for you to come and address, you have to get in the plane, you gotta come home, and they probably would have talked to the judge. The judge is part of all this collusion. The policeman will be waiting for you at the airport. I mean, all kinds of things go on. This is what the case is. I mean, my market, if I'm going to do real estate, I don't want to do it for the 1%. I want to do it for the people who need it in order for them to pay. So I have to build it at a price that can make it affordable for them.
So I think I'm hearing that you are afraid of taking risks. It would appear because I think that there are some. I'm sure there are Africans who have real estate in Africa that are making return on their
But
investment.
that's what I'm saying. Show the books. If you come to buy my apartment complex in Dallas, and I say I have 100 units, before you can make that purchase, I'm going to show you who is paying rent.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you who is paying rent, and you do what they call due diligence, and you verify those tenants are credible. And the same thing applies if I have a commercial property or retail one. So, but if I go to Nigeria and somebody says, oh, my real estate is worth 20 million naira, I'll say, okay, show me how it's worth, show me who is paying those rent. And then if it makes sense, yes. But oftentimes it's not. There's a lot of bogusness, okay, in the real estate market in Nigeria. I'm telling you, as a professional who has done it on that side, and I'm doing it here, a lot of things are not reliable. In America, if you, I mean, I'm sure you've bought a house or you have interest in real estate. If you get an appraisal that say 80, your house is 100,000, you could bet your life that value is good up to 95%, and that's what the bank is going to rely in order to make a loan. But in the case of Nigeria, no, because the credential of the people doing that appraisal is very limited. The market information is not reliable. Somebody, just can write you because they are a member of Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and values. Oh, in my opinion. Nobody reviews that. But when you submit an appraisal to a lending institution in America, it's got what? It's reviewed. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it goes to the underwriting people. And they will question you. They have data to match whether your 1 million valuation makes sense or this. In the case of Nigeria, it does not happen. There's nobody in Nigeria who reviews the appraisal of another Nigerian and say, "Oh, look, I don't agree with you." Oh, heck no. So it doesn't. That's the confidence is not there for foreign investors. Remember, Lambert, do you know how real estate becomes an export good?
No.
Okay, you see, you cannot move a building. You can't put it on a truck and from Cameroon to Nigeria. You can't, except your mobile home. That's it. Okay, but if you're talking about real estate, the characteristics is also because of the fixed nature of it. Is in a particular place at a particular time. But in order for you to make that real estate an exportable value, you have to go to what we call the property rights. The rights attached to that real estate is what you sell. So, for instance, a pension fund in Germany can own 10,000 units of apartment complex in America because they have bought the rights to that income. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Africa, nobody's buying rights to income attached to real estate in Nigeria. Nobody, because there's a lot of default, there's a lot of delinquent, payment. So nobody. So if a pension fund in Germany, in Japan, in China say, okay, hey, look, I want to put some money in my African real estate portfolio, nobody's buying it. I can guarantee you, you go to Nigeria and show me anybody who's invested in Nigerian real estate. Nobody. So that's why, so Nigeria or Africa is limited because they are dependent on cash in order to do it. If you have financial instruments and if you have that policy and credit worthiness and there's a value and confidence in the local currency, then people invest in the currency. You go to a mortgage, they say, I'm going to make you a loan for 30 years. Is it not what they say for residential homes?
Yeah.
And it's fixed rate for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you know why it's fixed rate? Is the confidence in the dollar. And that's one of the 3 charges of the Federal Reserve Bank, to ensure the confidence in the dollar. That's why they say 30 years fixed at 3%. There is no bank in Nigeria that will lend you money fixed rate 3%, 30 years on the naira, because the naira value is what? It's like quicksand. Today is what this, tomorrow is what that. So the mortgage, the bank's like, no, I'm not taking that risk with you. I'm going to charge you. In fact, pay me in 6 months. If not, I'm kicking you out. The only thing you do in 6 months is like what Dangote does. He go buys a bunch of rice from somewhere and cement, bring it to Nigeria, and he sell it for cash. That's how Dangote made his money. He's not a really businessman in the sense of really businessman, So he's a trading, he trades on commodity. But when you start talking about long-term investments, long-term mortgage is a long-term, it's 30 years. And the bulk of it is in America. That's why America's economic wealth, 70% is in real estate. That's huge. And it makes you, it makes you want to wake up and go to work. Why do you go to work? You have to pay rent or you have to pay mortgage. Are those not the two things Americans do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in Africa, they say, I paid off my cash. That's why they are lazy, because they are cash dependent. I've paid off my house. They are lazy. But if you owe somebody, you gotta get creative, you gotta get innovative, and you don't sleep too much. So for Africans in America to do it, it depends on what you want to do. You could buy homes and I have rental property, but when you buy a home outside of your primary home, then you get into income properties. So that second home of yours has to be qualified. And so you're not going to get the benefit as if you're buying it for your primary home. And then when you're buying that, you have to make sure that the rent you're going to collect is enough to pay the mortgage. So if you buying your second home requires that you're going to be making a mortgage of $1,500 a month, when you charge rent, you're going to charge somebody $2,000.
Right.
You can't charge them either. If you charge them $1,600, you're barely making it. So those are the fundamentals. What is it costing me to own this, and what am I getting in order to pay it? And when you have an equity, if the house is worth 100,000, and the bank said, well, we lend you 80,000, so you have to come up with 20,000. So that 20,000 is money you're lending to yourself. But the mortgage position is superior to yours. So if you default, the bank will take the asset and you will have lost your equity. So the most important part of it is being able to satisfy those two positions. How do you return your first equity? How do you pay yourself back? They carry cash on cash. How long would it take you to get your $20,000 back? Based on the rent you're going to get. So that's the calculation. If you want to get into the commercial real estate, you can have joint ventures. You can do joint ventures with a group of people. Let's say there are 5 Africans, and they say we want to own, a small apartment complex. It could be 20 units. What is it? $20 million. Okay. Yeah. The bank wants 20% or 10% to finance you. Then within 5 or 4 of you, you can get together and say, okay, we're going to create a joint venture. Lambert and Joseph, Edward, LLP, because real estate is what they call single purpose vehicle. You know what that is?
No.
You could create a company with just one real estate, and it will stand on its own. So you borrow on that, you satisfy that debt, you own it. But if you want to go to another one, you can create another joint venture with some other group of people. Until you build your portfolio, you can put them in a holding company. So that's the magic. You don't have to have a license to own real estate in America. The only time you're required to have a license is if you do what I do. If somebody's going to pay you for knowledge, become a salesperson or a broker, and then they're paying you for that professional service. But to own real estate, you don't need a license. To own a construction company in Texas, you don't have to be an engineer. You just know how to hire the people to go build it on behalf of somebody. Just like, to own a pharmacy in America, you don't have to be a pharmacist. You know that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You just have to hire pharmacists. To own a hospital, you don't need to be a doctor. You see, in Africa, they say, oh, you have to. You see, Africa is so myopic and so narrow in their thinking. An engineer can only be the minister for works. A doctor can only be minister for health. No, in America, no, that's not what they're looking for. Just like a president of a university doesn't have to have a PhD. But can you imagine going to an Africa and they say the vice chancellor doesn't have a PhD? Oh my God, that'd be a civil war. Because they're not tapping into resources, they're not tapping into knowledge, they're tapping into paper. So somebody can go and force themselves for years, failing and passing, and finally they made them a PhD, and then it go become something. It couldn't function. Here in America, a retired general from the army can be president of a university. Because they are looking at people who can bring leadership, help the university grow reputationally, raise money for them. But Africa is caught up on the doctor. Hey, if I have a PhD, my money should be bigger than the one who has a master's. And then if I have a master's, my money should be bigger than the man who have a bachelor's. It doesn't work that way. We are looking for people who have knowledge and who can deliver value.
So knowledge and value, those two things combined, not just knowledge. So let's come back to basic advice that you give your African immigrants who are interested in real estate business in the United States. Now I think you have been talking about it as being a better option than building a house that you will never stay in and get into the hoopla. What would if somebody's interested in getting into real estate as a business, what do they do?
I mean, first of all, what do you want to do it by yourself, or do you want to do it as a group? Okay, let's talk about you as an individual. I mean, so you said, what do you want to own? Are you interested in being a landlord for that what they call rental properties, which is single families, or you want to do multifamily, or you want to do retail, or manufacturing, offices, nursing homes? You see all those Africans that do home health care, how many of them even own real estate that home health care is done out of? How many? Or own assisted living, which is healthcare sort of facility? How many own that? So if you decide what it is you want to own, then the question is how much? Are you building it new? Are you buying an existing? And remember, when you're buying a hospital or a home health care, there are two things involved in that, Lambert. The two things, there's the real estate and then there's the business. Just like hotel. When you buy in a hotel, there's the real estate and then there's the hotel part of it. So they have goodwill. So the way you look at that is different from when it's just strictly residential. All you're doing for residential is providing somebody a place to live, and they, by providing them that, they pay you rent or they pay mortgage. So if they identify what it is they want to do, then you understand what affects that particular sector of real estate in the city where you live. And you begin to you develop a relationship with your lending institution. If it's your bank you're going to go to, say, hey, I want to buy these. This is what it is. They can, tell you the process of, going about it. And then you get into the management. If real estate is a babysitting business, you got to keep up with it. Some people are slumlords. You know what a slumlord is?
A slumlord.
They just take the money and run. But if you wanna keep that real estate, to keep bringing in the value and the rent that is enough to pay you for your investment and pay you for the debt, then you have to babysit it. That means maintenance, repairs, doing those things to make the real estate attractive to the people who are going to pay you rent. It's a 24/7 business, and it's not an easy business. And then here, if you do certain things, the tenant can sue you. So you have to have liability insurance. You have to, all kinds of stuff go into it. It's not, see, in Africa, being called a landlord is a prestige, even though you have a very poor performance. Oh, that's a landlord. In America, being a landlord is a huge liability with value in it. So you have to constantly keep up with those requirements, keep up with the real estate. The thing is, your land, you can always see it. Your building, you can always see it. If you buy a stock, if the company goes belly up, you have a piece of paper, you ain't got nothing back. But if you have a piece of land, it doesn't rot. The land never rots. It's never rotten. The building can be rotten. You demolish it and do something else, but that land is yours. And And the last time God created land, he hasn't created any additional land. Has he made any more land?
I think you can confirm that.
No, he has not. Because him and I are in contact all the time.
Yes. So again, I think there are a couple of, I mean, the African immigrants who are engaged in the real estate business. Buying and flipping homes and doing so. The one thing that I've not seen yet, maybe because I've not yet widely traveled in the United States, is Africans who own hotels. It seems as if it's a challenging environment. I remember one of our shows.
Because the Indians have dominated at that industry, and then Africans don't have good customer service ability. Don't get me wrong. Africans don't, have you seen any five-star restaurant owned by Africans? We don't know how to do customer service. Okay, so we are not a very hospitable people. So you can't get into industries that are hospitality. Hotels are called hospitality. So I mean, here is a very competitive market. The Indians got into it in the 80s, and now they dominate what they call the mid-level hotels. Your Holiday Inns, your La Quinta, Best Western, those kind of hotels, they own it. Because when they came in America, they got into that industry. Then the market recognized them, and they started making loans to them. Just like when I came to America in the 80s. Do you know who? You've seen this store called 7-Eleven?
Yes.
Okay.
Ethiopians.
7-Eleven is based here in Dallas. That's the headquarters. The founder is from Dallas, but now it's owned by Japan. So but the headquarters is still in Dallas. So Nigerians were being hired as store managers because they speak English, and usually they have a college degree or a college education. So 7-Eleven started hiring Nigerians, but you know why they kicked them out?
No.
Nigerians started stealing from them. They will call their village people to come and take stuff from the store, but back then there were not too many cameras. So there's what they call loss prevention. So the stores were losing money, and then it's like, who's doing this stuff? And then they started firing them, guess who they replaced them with?
The Ethiopians.
Ethiopians who don't speak English, but they are very loyal. So Nigerians think their education is going to get them anything. They are not loyal, and they are not hospitable people. So those are things you learn in America. What does the society expect from you? So if you want to get into that industry, they're going to say, okay, what is your experience in it? It's not just your money. When we did a 18-story high-rise in Dallas downtown 2005, it wasn't because we had the money. They were like, what have you guys ever done? Prove it to us. So we have to go through the city, do the zoning issues, we go to the city council to vote for the project, did everything. And once that was done, we said, oh yeah, you can. So if you don't know how to engage, you can never be involved.
Right.
If you don't know how to
engage, you can never be involved.
Yes. And most Africans don't know how to engage. So that's why they are not involved.
I think you have made some pretty bold claims here about Africans being...
I do, because, the first Nigerian came to America. When the first Nigerian was recorded officially?
Yeah, I think you told me
1918.
Oh, okay, 1918.
What is the math? 103 years. So consistently, you have had Nigerians coming to this country since 1918, because Nigeria was joined together as a country, amalgamated in 1914. So if anybody who came before them, Ellis Island wasn't even existing until the late 1800s. So that's when they started recording people. They will ask you, where are you from? That was entered. The first Nigerian president came to America in 1923. So this would be like almost 100 years a Nigerian we know came to America. But have you had any Nigerian born American, who is CEO of a major company or done all that stuff? No, because we are still, it's one foot in here, one foot there. We love Nigeria, but we're in America. How are you going to be able to juggle the two? So these are bold statements. I mean, there are exceptions. You know, if you have 100 people, you look at the exceptions and you look at the frequency. So if 5 people are doing something exceptional, then you know you can make a general statement and say 99% of them are this. You know, they are like that, even though you have exceptions. So the exceptions are not the rule.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is I think there are people, Africans who have been engaged in this in a certain fashion and they are doing very well. You know?
Yes, they are doing very well, but the market has not recognized. You see how Indians were recognized and they started giving them loan to buy hotels and they create funds for them. So tell me one sector of the American real estate that you say when a Nigerian shows up, they say, oh yeah, you guys are credible. You see the nail industry, the
Yes.
pedicure, manicure?
Yes.
You know how much that is in America? It's almost $60 billion. So those, you know, Southeast Asians that do that, anytime they want to borrow money for that, they're good. So I'm saying, tell me the industry. We haven't. We have a bunch of people that work and they do things on the side, but we have not secured any particular sector of American industry as Africans to where they say, oh yeah, if you want to run a good restaurant, I mean, Ethiopians are doing good. What are the two primary things Ethiopians are known here? Was it not convenience store and cab driving?
Yes.
Transportation, airport transportation, but they've done well in it. They've done well in it. But Nigerians started doing this more before them. Because, you know, the Ethiopians don't speak English. English is not their thing. You know, of course, they come here and everybody learns that. But the Nigerians who come already with English, what industry? The cab business is not dominated by them. The airport transportation shuttle is not dominated by them. The Ethiopians came in, boom. They have convenience stores, 7-Eleven, give them franchises to own those stores. You know, and they've built an industry around it. They're the one African group that at least you could say this is what they are doing. The other ones are, hey, they have a job, you're a good doctor, you're a good pharmacist, you go in, you make money. But is there a chain of pharmacies in America? You say, oh, it's owned by a Nigerian pharmacist, African pharmacist. Is there a chain? They're all individuals. Until you build that critical mass, America don't recognize you. I mean, when I say America don't recognize you, the economic sector don't recognize you. Because the money is not the problem. They're looking for ways to invest. And just like, what is it? Mexican food?
Yeah.
Chinese food?
Yeah.
Italian food? Okay, where's the chain of African restaurants? Have you ever been to a Nigerian restaurant when the woman will put a fufu on your table and be like they want to slap you? It's like, they do you a favor when you are over there paying for your service. Have you ever been to those restaurants and see the service? When you're in there, it's loud, people are talking, you can't even have a conversation. You're not in Ajegunle, Lagos. You're not in Enugu. You're in America. Because that's what the people are looking for. And so when they come in and start eating your food, that means you are improved in your delivery. I mean, the Mexican food in America has nothing to do with Mexican food in Mexico. Italian food in America, but hey, it's a marketing brand. So how many times have you seen, can you go take, what is it called, a white man to go chop a goat head? I mean, of course you can do it the first time, the second time they ain't coming back. or the fufu. So, but if we package it in such a way that it will appeal to the greater American market, because that's what you're going to do, Lambert. We talk about trade. I will only trade with you if what you have makes sense to me. Is it not how it works?
Correct.
So if your fashion, I like your fashion, I should be able to do what? Buy it. I'm not doing just to see you and say, wow, you look good, but I ain't going to wear that. So have we transcended? Have we transited into the American market with what we know we have comparative advantage of? Have we? That's the question. I mean, the Indians have come. Every immigrant has come here and made it, stake their presence with something that they are known for. That's America. So what have we, the Black Africans in America, what have we brought to the table? Yeah, we go to school, that is good, but what industry are we dominant? Our fashion. How many times you see, I mean, again, but you wear t-shirt, you wear things because, you dress functionally in America, not ceremoniously.
Right. So
Functional.
I think again, this speaks to one of the solutions that I mean I don't want to call it solution because in your rejoinder to the article on Kigali,
Housing in
yeah,
Rwanda.
yes, you said something which is important that we need to address the policies and issues inherent in capital formation. And I am looking, I mean, you have talked a lot about it here, and I think you can go into it again to talk about the difference between cash, which is finite, and credit, which is elastic.
Yes.
And it just beats my imagination that in the whole of this United States, we don't have any one bank credit union owned by Africans.
Yes.
Capital formation.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what is the challenge? What is the problem?
Well, because credit unions of course, it's a federal program, just like you have the FDIC. Community banks are state chartered. So, but there are categories of those institutions. And if you fall into the economically challenged situations category, then you can get a credit union. Because it's supposed to address the issue of capital access for that community. It's not going to be exclusive, but that's going to be the reason they will give you the license to operate. The same thing with community banks. But Africans haven't come together to do that. They haven't, because they don't understand those things. Those are policy driven. A lot of things in America, or not a lot, everything in America is policy driven. The only thing that is not policy driven is the air you and I breathe. Okay. So, but you want to own a barber shop, you have to have a license. If you want to anything. So how are we coming in and said, how do we finance our own small businesses? We're not even talking about people coming to borrow 1 million. How do we extend credit to Africans who want to start a pharmacy shop, start a restaurant, start a beauty shop? How do we extend that credit to them and help them grow it and help them to franchise it and become critical? So when you see XYZ pharmacy in Maryland, in Texas, it's, oh yeah, those are pharmacies run by Africans because it's their brand. So when you now have a lot of it, so Wall Street will say, hey guys, you're doing an excellent job. Your books look good. Your returns are good. We're going to give you more money so that you can grow this thing from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. That's how it's done. It's not a magic thing. But you have to give them something to invest in and invest on. So what is it? Have you seen any, again, our own food that is, the Cameroon Nigerian cuisine, the same, when you see it in Maryland, if you come to Houston, it's the same thing, in Dallas. You know how you see like McDonald's?
Right.
Because when you have the franchise American business gives you comfort that, hey, if you have a McDonald's, it's going to be the same McDonald's in Dallas, Holiday Inn. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not. So we haven't built that. We don't build that kind of model of business. Even in Cameroon, is there any hotel chain that you go all over Cameroon or Nigeria and you say it's a Nigerian brand? None. We just go get one from Europe and they promote. Where is the Nigerian brand hotel that has the brand of Nigeria? So you can, if you go to sub-Saharan African countries, say, oh wow, this is owned by Africans. Because that's what people are going to invest in. That's what people are going to put capital, so you can use that to attract a lot of capital. Well, not money out of my pocket, my own little shop. I think in our culture, our culture does not promote big business. America is a big business, started with small business. And the structure of the business. So the cash, we are cash-based people. We love cash. But we forget the credit gives you the bigger play. Hmm?
Right.
If you have $1 million in America, you can borrow $10 million. A bank will give you $10 million for your 1 million. And then what does he do for you? He's giving you what? A much larger play. So you can go, but because now you become a debt. Lambert, that is what those pension funds are looking for. Long term. Because when you pay your pension, it's not sitting in a vault. They collect those monies and they're going to invest it in things that will produce revenue over time, so that when the pensioners are retiring, you are able to pay them. The same thing with insurance companies. See how the insurance thing work? You buy a policy, I give you a number. If 1 million people buy a policy and they are paying $50 a month, okay?
Yes.
For 1 year, how much is that? $600 million. Okay? Let's say 20% of them default and start paying on their policy. That money is not refunded. So the insurance company, when they get that money, they don't put it in a vault. They have to have a certain percentage as a buffer for claims. Because there's no time 100% of them are going to file a claim. So they're going to invest it in real estate. Insurance companies are big real estate investors. But they're not going to invest in 50 million. They're going to invest in big shopping malls, apartment complexes, offices, retail, restaurants, hotels, because this is long-term play. And so the money keeps coming in. So do we have insurance company in Nigeria that is doing that, or in Cameroon? So if you have 200 million people, Nigerians, how many of them have insurance coverage? I mean, you over there, you know how many insurance. You have an auto insurance, you have health, you have home, you have rental. I mean, every month you write in a check, and if you default, you lose the one you already paid. So that's the capital formation. And then you can have a policy attached to it. Then the policy would now tell the insurance company and the pension fund, every year we want to see 2% of your money invested in real estate. We want to see 5% invested in manufacturing. We want to see this in going to aviation. They get those mandates. They spread it. So what is our capital formation? Oh, we want to sell oil. We want to dig hole in the ground and find diamond. What is the capital formation? Are your people asleep today? They're not coming back with comments? Hello?
So I think that is an important point that you just brought up there, and I don't know how we're going to get a solution to that.
The solution is you got to have our own people that can come in and help, a government or a regional group of Lambert, also, most of this African economy, the economy of most of these African countries are very small. You go look at the budget of some of these small Africans, they not even have $1 billion budget. So how are you going to take $1 billion project to them? But if you create a regional market and a regional currency and a regional trading region, then you have expanded your purchasing power and your ability to perform. We don't have that. So everybody wants to do their little thing. Cameroon, Nigeria, Central African Republic, everybody, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Mali, they're all on their own. They're not saying, hey, let's have this regional market. Let's borrow, let's create a housing fund so that if you are living in Mali, I can borrow money to build anything within this our regional market. It gives you a bigger play. Because people are looking, what is the most fundamental need of an economy? The people. What services are you providing for the people? If everybody in Nigeria, 200 million of them, are to spend $1 a day just to buy chewing gum, okay? And everybody in England with a population of, what is it called? 55 million. And spending the same dollar to buy chewing gum. Whose economy should be bigger?
The Nigerian economy, of course.
Because you have more people. But we haven't developed programs and policies to address the need of that 200 million people and capture what the transactions they are doing in order to keep providing them goods and services. That's it. I mean, you're talking about trade. You haven't even traded with yourself. You're talking about trading outside. Let's say, hey, I see a furniture in Cameroon, it's made a Cameroonian company, I'm buying it in Nigeria, I'm buying it in Congo. I don't care about selling it to Europeans. Sell to yourselves first. To build and then create these institutions that will help you have capital formation.
That's precisely why we have the African Continental Free Trade Area. We hope that that takes up well. So, Sir Okpa, I think again today has been a cold day. We have talked about real estate. Do you have any last words?
I mean, there's always the last word and the first word. I'm saying that thank you for this. I hope people are listening, and I hope for those of us who are here. I remember we talked about the U.S. What is it called? The U.S. African Society.
Yes, African Society, correct.
So we can use that as a platform, for awareness, because I believe if you are not strong in America, you cannot be strong in Africa. We have to be strong here so that strong is not just physical, so that when we submit policies, when we engage, they will want us to be involved. So right now, a lot of us don't even know what it is. We're happy to be here. We're happy to send money by Western Union and keep our families happy. But, those money you send to your families, they're not investment money. They're just people, they're just going to go have beer and throw more parties and say, hey, you send more money. So let's invest in America, claim this country like other immigrants have claimed it, and then now march forward. If we want to go help Africa, we can, but you can't help Africa when you have not helped yourself in America. You can't. You'd be lying to yourself. So thank you. And, again, this is just a word hanging in the air. Next time we do it again.
Thank you very much, Sir Okpa. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your engagement so that we can all relate and be able to move this. I'm happy to announce that Sir Okpa would be on Chat Night Africa on Sunday, March 7th, with veteran journalist from Cameroon, Divine Chamukong. It promises to be explosive. I have everything ready for myself to follow that show. So
again, I forgot. I want to thank you because again, this is one of those things I believe, and I'm sorry because I'm about acknowledgement and credit. I wouldn't have known Chat Africa if not for you, and it didn't come to you the first time we met. You vetted me. You made sure I had something to say before you said, okay, I'm going to risk an introduction, and that's what it's supposed to be. Before you introduce somebody, make sure you have vetted for them because your credibility and your reputation is on the line if the person screws up. So I want to thank you for that introduction. I think we have had a little chat ourselves, and he was like, yeah, let's go. I was like, if you don't like me, I don't like you back. You just move on.
Yes. So yes, so I really want to appreciate you, Sir Okpa, that the time you give in and your readiness to at least educate, inform, and get into a debate. Even you are not afraid of controversies. You are not afraid of challenging, and that is what we need for our community to grow, for our community to take its place. And I believe with the foundations that we are laying for U.S. Africa Society, we are going to take this to the next level. And I just want to say that I'm going to post something shortly, but I give you a little background, and that's to the audience too, that I asked Sir Okpa to give me, in honor of Women's History Month, to give me a woman that inspires him. To see somebody like this, I mean, they always say behind every successful man is a woman. No, I don't like that. But so Okpa, when I said, give me one woman who inspires you and all that, I said, I did not want your mother. I did not want, he said, no, my wife. And that struck me. We African men must learn to celebrate our wives. It is not Valentine's Day. It is not all that, but it is. I found that very, very impressive. He gave me and his wife is an electrical engineer. I'm preparing to get her on the show. When I get her, the other person that Sir Okpa suggested to me is a Zimbabwean who was the first to have a PhD in real estate, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that conversation. But I really want to appreciate you for that. It's a lesson for all of us. Charity begins at home. That's what Okpa told me. And it was great to note that an African man, because the tendency is for us African men to be portrayed as not having respect for our wives. That was a great lesson for me, and I'm sure we all have learned. So happy Women's History Month to all the women.
For you for saying that, I want to say two things. I don't do Valentine. The first time, I didn't even know what Valentine was in Nigeria. Okay, I don't pay attention to all this popular culture. So I come to America and somebody say, "Hey, Edward, what are you going to do for Valentine?" I say, "I don't like that guy because I said Nigerian guy, his name is Valentine, and I really don't like him." I said, well, "What do you mean?" I said, "My name is Edward. What do you mean Valentine?" And they said, "Oh no, this is for Lovers Day." I said, "Hey, I love better than Valentine. Okay, I don't care what it is." so and my wife, I tell my wife, I said, no, I'm doing Edward's Day, not Valentine's Day. And he's as long as we are together, okay, don't ask me about Valentine, ask me about me, because Valentine is, I don't know who he is. And then the saying about behind every successful man, I like to change that phrase. I said beside every successful man or woman, beside.
Right.
When I go to places, I always tell my wife, walk in front of me. Be in front of me. Okay? So I'm saying beside every successful man, because he's not behind.
Right.
Beside or in front of. I give my mom a lot of credit. If I wasn't married and you wanted to interview somebody, I say my mom. If I wasn't married with my sister, I say my sister. If I see the queen, I ain't gonna bow to her. I don't know her, except if the queen bows to me. You know how people say Queen Elizabeth and all of that stuff. I ain't gonna shake her hand or kiss her. You know what I mean? Right. I am particular to my own people, and I will honor. I will honor from my own before I go to the outside. So if it's a lesson for us to know, I always said I'll start with my own. I start with my wife. I'm not saying she's better than anybody, but hey, she's the one that I see every day, and we talk about stuff. So when you ask me that question, I say, yeah. I don't know what she's gonna say, but I said, yeah, you go for that. And then because I don't want to go bring somebody and no. Let's do that. Our daughters, because the more of our daughters, our sisters and our moms, we give the confidence, then they are going to be strong. But if we sideline them, put them behind, treat them, no. I tell anybody, I said, no man can come into my home and take my wife. If they do, it's my fault, because I created the condition to enable a man to come into my wife, to come into my home. And I say it boldly. I don't care who the man is. If you come over there and succeed in taking my wife, I will learn what you have done so that next time nobody can do it, but nobody can do it. We have to be protective and we have to self-preserve.
On that note, I'm sure next week we are going to talk about women's history. I'm going to pick Sir Okpa's mind on women and African development. But thank you, and again, we look forward to another conversation next week. Keep the rendezvous next Wednesday, same time. But as I said, tune in on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that is it for Chat Night Africa. Thank you again and good evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.